I'm Clint Emerson, and welcome to Can You Survive This Podcast, where the interview is just as dangerous as the scenarios I put my guests through. From hostage situations to natural disasters, carjackings, active shooters, and more, if you're looking for the skills necessary to survive these situations, then this is the show for you. Thank you for listening to another episode of Can You Survive This Podcast? Some admin stuff. We always love it when you go over to any platform, give us 5 stars and some funny comments, because eventually we'll read them out loud and tag you in a post or on social somewhere. But be sure to go over 5 stars and some comments. They can be funny, they can be rude. I don't care. In fact, the more disgusting they are, the better. So head on over there and knock that out for us. And also the Ready Room. I have to throw it out there. I haven't yet. I have the Ready Room over at ClintEmerson.com, giving you safety tips, security tips, all kinds of cool skills. We got videos, community, and other things back behind the paywall. And we have an early bird special going on. And I think that's it. But now I want to introduce this. He is a great man. I want to use some good political references here. He's a great man. He's a wonderful man. He's done wonderful things, and he's a wonderful guy. He is a director. He's a producer. He's an actor, stuntman, military and technical advisor for film and television. He is an executive protection consultant and specialist. He is also a retired Navy SEAL. Kevin Kent, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
How you doing?
Appreciate it. That's a great intro.
It's all the truth, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. How have you been, man? It's been a while.
I've been great. Oh man, where to begin? I've basically been living in Europe for the last couple of years, working on Jack Ryan season 3 and 4. Then I was in Albuquerque working on another show, a Netflix show called Obliterated. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm still trying to stay busy, trying to stay relevant in the film industry. That's pretty much it. I've been home for the last couple of months. Actually, it's been kind of good hanging out with the family here in San Diego. Although it's been raining a ton, but overall it's been great. How about yourself?
Yeah. Well, you know, we've known each other for a little while now. You were in a class ahead of me, a couple of classes ahead of me in 200. I was in 203. And I remember you were like one of the first guys I saw when I checked in. You had your shirt off. You were in this Jeep, and you went cruising by through that Bud's parking lot like you owned it. And I was like, man, that guy must be a SEAL. And then later I saw you out at the island because I was one of the support guys, you know, yeah. So I was classing up, or hadn't classed up yet. There was 10 of us from class 203 sent out to support you guys out on the island. And then there you were. I was like, oh, he's not a SEAL yet, but yeah, he's pretty cool because he drove around with his shirt off.
He's cool, no shirt. And he said, "Fuck you, nerds," as he drove by.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, yeah, you did. You guys had a class of, you know. Every single guy in there seemed like they pushed the limits to a certain degree when it came to instructors or all that, man. There's some good guys.
Pretty great class.
Yeah, no doubt. And you're a centennial class. That's always cool. So to get warmed up, we're going to go through a rapid fire. I'm going to throw a couple items at you. You pick the one that comes to your mind first, and then we'll circle back around and talk about why you picked what you picked. Okay, so I've got my Sharpie here. I'm going to circle your answers so that because God knows I'll forget it in a heartbeat. Okay, here we go. A compass and map or a GPS?
GPS.
James Reese or Jack Ryan?
Oh, of course, Jack Ryan.
I figured. West Coast or East Coast?
West Coast.
Russia or China?
Ooh, I'm going to say Russia.
All right. Rotary wing or fixed wing?
Rotary.
SEALs or zombies?
Oh, man. I'm going to have to say SEALs.
Of course, that one's going to be odd to everyone. They're going to be like, what does that mean? Deployment or workup?
Ooh, deployment.
Pick a lock or blow the door off its hinges.
That's a tough one. I'm going to say blow the doors.
You're so gay.
I know, right?
Pistol or the pen?
Pistol.
I was going to say sword, but that's too cliche. All right.
Yeah.
And the last one, sea, air, or land?
I'm going to say air.
Air. All right. Okay, let's circle back around. I gave you the choice of compass and map versus GPS. You picked GPS. What do you think? Why?
Yeah, I don't know. I think now the technology is where it is, to where, I mean, almost doing anything without a GPS is ridiculous. Although I was one of those guys who typed with his elbows and forehead on a computer, so I'm not that tech savvy. I had to get good at it whenever I was going through film school the last couple of years. But and even I remember, when they issued us like that plugger at Marops. And like trying to program that thing, there's like this giant brick, and you're out there in the ocean, like trying to work this thing, going waypoint to waypoint. And you literally just want to throw it in the ocean. So I guess at some point I had to, bite the bullet and get tech savvy. So I'm definitely going to go with GPS.
Yeah, I agree. And I remember the mugger and the plugger. Yeah, you needed like a wheelbarrow to carry them around.
Yeah.
That's some old school technology. And I also remember a lot of us were going. Remember Magellan? They were kind of like ahead of Garmin back in the day. And I remember going and spending $600 of my own dollars on that damn handheld Garmin because it was
Explorer,
more.
Right?
Yeah, is that what it was? Explorer, Magellan, Explorer? I don't know, but it was way more accurate and user friendly than our $10,000 mugger pluggers that we were getting.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He's the first explorer that circumnavigated the world.
Oh, yeah. Explorer. Yeah. Now I get it. Okay. You're putting the joke on me now. I'm so dumb. Okay. James Reese versus Jack Ryan.
Oh man, that's a tough one too. I did all 4 seasons of Jack Ryan, so obviously I'm a little partial to John Krasinski and that franchise. I grew up, reading Tom Clancy books. Without Remorse is still to this day one of my all-time favorites, and even bought a hardback copy and put on my son's on the back of my son's toilet to get him to read the damn thing. It's still sitting there. It probably hasn't even been cracked. I mean, I don't know if anybody still reads while they sit on the shitter or not, but that used to be, the national pastime for most people. Now it's like if you go into the bathroom and don't have your phone, you go into like panic attack mode. But I will say, I was actually supposed to do season 1 of the Terminal List with Chris Pratt. I worked with Chris on the Tomorrow War, which was a great experience as well. So I will say both of those cats are really great dudes. Chris Pratt's a really great guy to work with, as well as obviously Krasinski. I'm partial to because he's my homeboy, and he, I worked with him on 13 Hours and the Jack Ryan franchise. He gave me a nice shout out on the Colbert Show, which was pretty funny as well. So
I saw it. It was when
threw him out of the helicopter.
One of my favorite parts about doing the show is to interact with the military community. And we were in Black Hawk with all SEALs. And that gentleman right there is Kevin Kent. He's a wonderful guy, and I've done 4 seasons with him. Yeah, this guy. Which is now you just labeled him as this guy. He's so much more than that. But as we were flying, he said, you gonna do this stunt? And I was like, no, they shot it this morning. And he was like, yeah, it would look a lot cooler if you did it. And I was like, yeah, we didn't plan for that, so I don't even know what that would look like. He goes, it would look like me grabbing the seatbelt, unbuckling you, and throwing you out of this helicopter. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do that. And the camera guy was sitting there like this. Like, please don't do this. They hadn't told any of the producers or anything. And I went, all right, let's do it. And the camera guy jumps up. He unbuckled me and threw me out of the Black Hawk.
And the camera guy got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They showed the clip of you chunking them out and then talking about how that was just completely like, what do you want to call that? Impromptu, right? Like, hey, how badly do you want to get to that? What was it, a sub or a ship?
Yeah, how bad you want to get on that ship? And,
yeah.
it was pretty funny because, he's a manly guy. I mean, he's a big dude. He's like 6'3", and it's kind of intimidating. You get in a bird, and there's there were 4 or 5 of us team guys in there. It was me, Paul Toma, Kaj Larson, and an actually Air Force cat, RJ Casey, who's a PJ. We're in there, and Krasinski gets in there, and we'd already shot all the stunt stuff, and I'm like, hey, so we're gonna toss you out of here, right? And he's just like, no, we're just gonna hover down. I'm gonna gingerly get into the water. And I think he could see the look on our faces, and we're just like,
whatever,
dude. So I don't know, maybe we goaded him into that a little bit, but
yeah, that's awesome, man. So cool. Okay, we'll keep going here. West Coast versus East Coast. Of course, you picked the West Coast, right? I'm guessing because you've been there your whole life, right?
Yeah. So I did 15 years at SEAL Team 5. Obviously, the lay person probably listened to your podcast. All the West Coast teams are odd teams. Even teams are on the East Coast. So 1, 3, 5, and 7 are in San Diego. I showed up to Team 5 in 1995. Stayed there for 10 years, then went to SQT for 2 years, went back to Team 5 for 5 more years, and then finished up my career at the schoolhouse as a third phase instructor. So
nice.
Yeah, I had a phenomenal time. 15 years at one team. I have a really gay tattoo on my arm, the SEAL Team 5 logo.
Hey, you have to.
Yeah. That was actually my second tattoo I ever got, which was pretty crazy. I waited like 14 years between my first and second tattoo.
Yeah.
And once I got my second tattoo, that was Mike Martin, the rest in peace. That was my first Mike Martin tattoo, and good dude, the old Vietnam frog man.
Legend.
Yeah.
Legend. Yeah, I waited until I was out before I got my arms all sleeved up, and it's something I'd always wanted to do, but I just was like, I better not do it just yet. I'll wait until I'm out. But, I'm glad I did, because you put a lot of thought, right? So, I mean, you want it to be thoughtful because it's on you for the rest of your life. So,
like this one.
Is that a spontaneous drunk one?
Dick and butt. Hand grenade.
Oh, a hand grenade on your wrist. Yeah, that's nice. Love it, buddy. All right. Yeah. Moving on. Russia or China? You picked Russia.
Yeah, I don't know why. I guess probably I can't say I've been to both countries. I guess I have more favorable experiences in Russia than China. China, I sat in the airport for like 11 hours on a layover versus going into Russia and being around Moscow and stuff and filming some stuff there. So I guess that's why I picked Russia. There's pretty great history in both of those countries. But I would say I wouldn't mind exploring around China at some point. Obviously there's the Great Wall and all those amazing sites there. But I have yet to actually put a fair amount of time in that country versus Russia.
Yeah, I mean, which one do you worry about the most? Do you worry about them as adversaries at all these days with all the news?
Yeah, I mean, not to get too political, but I mean, it seems like shit right now, and I mean, it's doubly as bad. They're making partnerships with one another, and obviously hindsight 2020, but throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, we're just pumping all this money into China, and I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, now we're kind of reaping what we sowed. We're kind of, it's like we made our bed, we have to lay in it. Cause I mean, we literally put trillions upon trillions of dollars into that place. And, and a lot of it too is just people being ultra greedy. I mean, I'm up for making a buck as much as the next person, but at some point you have to maintain a sense of nationality. It's like, is it worth more for me to be a trillionaire by shipping all of my, overhead overseas, or can I live with being a millionaire and maybe, push some jobs at home here? I think that they call it the greatest generation for a reason, because, during World War II, those cats, they were manufacturing everything here. And I mean, even the car companies, they stopped making cars for a period of time. And I mean, they're pumping out like B-17s, like however many per day, which is insane. They're just pumping out airplanes and building ships and just, insane amounts of industry coming out of this country. Whereas now it's like, I mean, motherfuckers don't even know which fucking bathroom to go to. Like it's sickening to some levels, but I think we need to get back on a path to, not to sound like a friggin' total Nazi, but a nationalist posture to where, I saw today where, somebody was all up in arms about Uganda, some LGBTQ agenda that they had. And it's like, oh my God, like they're worried about some, crazy laws that they're passing. It's like, hey, why do we have to meddle in everybody else's affairs? It's like, how about if we mind our business for once and take care of this country? I mean, there's people that can't even put food on their tables, we're worried about, friggin' homosexuals or transvestites in Uganda of all fucking places. I mean, nobody was saying shit when they're tossing homosexuals off of buildings and shit in Saudi Arabia because they're fucking giving us oil. But now it's Uganda. It's like, oh man, we better make a big deal about it.
Right.
I could go all day.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Going back to the beginning with China. Yeah. I mean, just in the past less than a month, Z, whatever, he has gone and shook hands with Saudi, then shook hands with Iran, and then got them into what I think is never going to be peaceful, but got them talking again. Then went back home for a little bit, then flew to Russia and shook hands with Putin. I mean, China's making big moves, and I've always labeled Russia as kind of like the paper mache tiger, which he's kind of proven to be, right? A lot of bravado and not a whole lot of show. You could see how Ukraine's going, that Russia really didn't plan, really didn't know. It's almost like they didn't know what they were doing, And then now fast forward to the end. Yeah. Uganda, I mean, they took a stance, and that president came out and said, new policy. Homosexuality, all that stuff is now illegal. And and of course we've got a report on it over here. Good stuff, buddy.
So what's your take? What's your take on, you think China's becoming, I mean, I think China's a little more dangerous to us, just simply on the stance that we owe them so much goddamn money.
I think, they rely on us economically more than anyone else. So they have to kind of walk a tightrope for sure. The other thing too, is when people ask like, who do you think's threatening and this and that, I'm like, just Google Earth images at night, right? And when you see the entire Earth at night, where there's a lot of lights on, that's a superpower. And when you look at China, there's not really that much light on, right?
Yeah.
So they still have a lot of like infrastructure development to get sorted and all that, but they are obviously rapidly catching up. They have a fat bank account, and they're following our playbook. They're going around now and becoming diplomats, right? You've got the president going around shaking hands with everybody lately. He's finally leaving China and doing what U.S. is usually led the way on. And so to me right there, that's pretty damn scary. Okay. Rotary wing, fixed wing. You picked rotary wing. Whistling shook hands of death.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they always said a helicopter never truly flies. It just vibrates so fucking hard that the earth rejects it.
Yeah, that is so true.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess
cool
for the sheer mobility factor. And I mean, there's a lot of dudes who are pilots, but there's not a lot of dudes who are helicopter pilots. You know what I mean? There's probably way far less, dude. I just think it's a little cooler, I guess.
It is.
I always love jumping out of birds, out of helos as well. you get that fall factor initially in your, although one of the craziest stories, I was in Yuma, they sent me out there to be a free fall instructor. And I luckily got out of those orders after a couple of months, but we were doing a jump. Well, got in an Osprey, and it's when those things were just falling out of the sky like crazy. We got into that thing, and we're up at altitude, and dude, sure as shit, all these bells and whistles and shit start going off, and the JM is just like, bail out, go out, clear and pull. And we jumped out. I think we were like $6,000 or something, and
fun.
Yeah, we went out on our main and everything was fine. But the funnest part was we're sitting out there in the middle of the fucking Yuma desert waiting for this bus to come get us for like 2 hours. We're out in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, that was one of the craziest times. I was like, shit, man, that's a bucket list, like bailing out of a bird because thing's going to crash. It didn't crash. Luckily, it actually made a successful landing. But
yeah, those things were sketchy at the beginning.
Yeah. Next time I actually rode on one, I caught a bird from Al Assad down to Basra, and it was an Osprey. And I'd get on that thing. We had a bunch of our gear and shit. I'm like,
this is it.
This is sketch.
Yeah.
I hope this fucker doesn't start to crash.
Right. I forgot, but it's quite the number of people that died before they finally got it right. Okay. SEALs versus zombies. Now, this is something only a few. I don't know how many people saw your movie. SEALs versus zombies.
The blockbuster.
Right? Yeah, it was worldwide, global.
Yeah.
So you pick SEALs, of course. Did SEALs actually win at the end? I can't remember. I actually watched it in support of you.
Yeah. We they left a little bit in there to so they could come back with SEALs versus zombies too, which was never made. But that was a great experience. Although I worked on another show as well, like 2 years ago. It was a Walking Dead spinoff. It was pretty funny. It was pretty amazing how much zombies have came in, the last several years, just with the technology and the makeup and everything. But yeah, SEALs versus zombies was a very interesting experience. I went out there to be the tech advisor on the show. And there was another team guy on there. There was a former Marine who was a professional wrestler, and then there, a bunch of actors. And it was hilarious because I get out there and they're like, hey, you want to play a role in this show? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I was like, well, what's the role? And they're like, well, it's playing the SEAL chief. Do you think you could do that? And I was like, oh man, that's a rough one. That's a rough one for me.
Never done that before.
Yeah. So
you gotta. Cool. Your role in there. Was that kind of your first time to get is that considered like the first time to have a big role, speaking role?
Yeah, I had some speaking roles on like Transformers, some of the Transformers stuff on like Transformers 4. What did I do after that? But yeah, it's definitely one of those where I had more speaking roles. I was more heavily featured. And it was cool too, because there's a guy, Ed Quinn, who plays the President of the United States on the Oval, which is a BET show. And he's a great dude. And it was one of those things where team guys think they could do anything, but and you point a camera in somebody's face and it's like, yeah. I mean, you literally like trying to say your lines and they're like, exit frame, like, they're like, dude, fuck, like, where'd you go? Like,
yeah, just be you.
I'm like, dude, that's just sketch, man. Dude, like,
yeah, that's funny. Deployment versus workup. Oh, what happened? Oh, you
Toby. Yeah. I was showing Toby taking a shit over there.
Did we get it? I don't think we got it.
Oh man.
Deployment versus workup. You picked deployment. I could have guessed that, but you never know, because deployments are fun too.
Yeah, deployments were a place, at least for me, where you kind of regroup. You get jacked. You're working out every day. You're not always eating right, And I guess it really depends too on which deployments you're talking about too, because like some of the pre 9/11 deployments, you're like, man, my liver is just shot. You're like going to Guam, or going to the Middle East, and you're hanging out in Bahrain and stuff like that. But going on all these J sets all over the place, and you get good at teaching some of these foreign nations how to throw hand grenades and shit. And we didn't really work that much. And then the rest of the time spent doing what we call tavern warfare. So, but I will say that probably about my last 6 or 7 deployments, downrange, it's like, you just wanted to get there. You wanted to get there. You wanted to get settled in. You wanted to get in your routine. And then, you're going out doing shit at night, and then you're waking up, you're working out, you're a lot more mission focused, obviously, because you're right there in the thick of it. And I guess, workups suck. God, like
it is.
It's like getting kicked in the nuts constantly, especially, when you get older. We always equate it to, we'd sit back and we'd watch, the next platoon would roll over, like we're sitting in at, Siphon 18 or whatever down in Nyland. Yeah. And, you see the 6x roll up, and you see a platoon get out of the 6x, and, you see the new guy, the tailgate drops. The new guy's got all his shit on. He's got his belt-fed machine gun that weighs 25 pounds with ammo and shit on it. And he just leaps out of the back of that thing and just lands, and then you see like the 2 or 3 platoon guy who's got all his shit off, who jumps out of the back of the truck and then grabs his shit and puts it on.
Yeah.
And then you see like the fucking chief who's like, or the dude with 7, 8 platoons under his belt that's got all his shit in the back of the truck, who pulls it out of the back of the truck and drops it, then climbs down gingerly, then bends over, puts all his shit on, because it's the workups that really crush your soul. At least for me. I mean,
yeah,
it really puts a hurting on you, especially, by the time you've done 6, 7, 8, 9 deployments. You're just like, man, every workup is a year and a half of just taking the ass, basically.
Yeah. No, it definitely hurt. My knees, my shoulders, my left hip. I mean, every single step started to get a little squirrely.
Yeah.
And, yeah, you're right. The new guys are all like,
fucking
all happy and like, let's do this. I'm hydrated. Let's do it. Yep. All right. Pick a lock or blow the door off its hinges. Of course, you picked blow the door. Were you a breacher?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah, and that's why I threw it in there for you. Do you have any? Do you have an interesting breaching story?
Not really. I have quite a few, actually. I mean, nothing really crazy other than just catching shit on fire and stuff like that. Breacher school obviously was a hoot on the East Coast. You go out to where's it, Fort.
Yeah, I know what you're
in the middle of Virginia, Fort, whatever the hell it's called.
I'll think to us in a second.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, most of the breaching was kind of crazy. I think some of the funnest breaching stories are watching guys who don't know how to read a door or read a lock, especially with manual tools, sledgehammers and hooligans, stuff like that. To where, you got some dude with a sledgehammer just beating the shit out of an outward opening door. You're like,
look for the hinges. Look for the hinges.
Yeah. You're like, what the hell are you doing? And then, but I think some of the funnest stories for that, you were running through the house at Shaw's, and we're going from the back of the house to the front of the house. And, you're going up there, and the number one guy runs up there. He's holding on the doorknob. He reached down. He turns the knob. He like calls for breacher. And like, I remember I was one of the platoon breachers. I come walking up, and it was a door with a lock, but the lock, it was just one of those little things you turn, and it was facing us. So literally you could just turn it and open the door. Yeah. So I reached up there. I'm like, you're the one man. You're the two man. I'm like, sledge, stand by. And I get up there and turn the thing and open the doorknob and sling the door open, like, open. And the dude just like looks at me. I'm like, you dumb shit. Pretty funny.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. I think one of my more memorable ones was in Kuwait, prepping to do the invasion into Iraq. And so somebody found like an old underground ammunition bunker. The door was kind of in the side of like a half rock, half sand, hill, if you will.
Yeah.
And so we were like, yeah, we can practice some breaching. It's got this one door, and they were like, yeah, the Kuwaitis didn't care. And so we breach it, but no one had been in this, quote unquote facility in probably 20 years.
Yeah.
And so
since the first Gulf War.
And then we're going to like go in and we're going to kind of go through the movements of CQB and just kind of see what we face and kind of work through the problem sets. Well, we get about, I don't know, 10, 20 feet into this thing, and it's pitch dark. You're going white light. That did no good because when we blew the door, it picked up every bit of dust that was inside that thing because it had no windows. It had no ventilation, right?
Yeah.
And we literally had guys in there lost for like 15, 20 minutes. They couldn't find their way back to the door unless we were flashing white lights and creating like a chem light trail back to the door. But anyway, okay. So next you put, let's see, the pistol versus the pen. Of course you pick pistol, right? So it's a better way of handling things. I figure the pen is like, okay, I'm going to use my words to get myself out of a problem. Or there's the pistol or the sword. And I figured you'd be a pistol kind of guy. And I know that you like a little tavern combat from time to time. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. When in doubt.
Punch him in the face.
Somebody in the face. But yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, I still enjoy shooting. I got a huge collection of guns and whatnot. And, it is kind of weird when I left the teams, we shoot SIG all the time. Here's my gratuitous Glock post here, but plug. But because I teach actors and stuntmen how to hold guns, how to shoot, how to look the part on camera. And so, it was getting to the point where I'm like, man, it's shooting a single action pistol, versus a 226, which is single action and double action. It's so much easier because you don't have to explain, you don't have to explain, you're going to have two trigger pulls. First trigger pull is like 15 pounds. And then, it's going to reset the trigger. And then, then it's going to be in single action. Your trigger pull is going to be, 6 or 8 pounds or whatever. And, especially to actors and people like that who aren't gun people, they're, it's like going over their head. But, I turned into a Glock guy pretty early on just for the simplicity of stuff like that. And I actually have a funny story. I was training Jennifer Garner for her role in Peppermint, a film she did a few years ago. And it was me and Harry Humphreys, who's a great mentor of mine. He's a guy you should probably have on the podcast. He's a really smart dude, but
yeah, let's do it.
Him and Keith Willard, who's another team guy, and he was the stunt coordinator for the show. So we're up at Taryn Butler's range, that Taryn Tactical up in Simi Valley. You see all those videos of him shooting up there. It's all the John Wick stuff.
Yeah.
Go see John Wick 4 coming out soon. Or it's already out. I think it came out yesterday. Yeah. Anyways, so I'm training her, and we'd already done a lot of shooting with a Glock and stuff, and we're trying to give her a look at a bunch of different pistols, and because her role is she's a housewife that, if you haven't seen the show, housewife that gets her kid and her husband get killed and stuff. So she learns how to train, essentially shooting all these different weapons, and comes back and avenges their death. So spoiler.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I think I watched it.
Yeah. She looked great. I mean, she had some training before. She was in I think it was The Kingdom, and then she did the show called Alias. So she's pretty savvy already. Not to say I've trained her how to do all of that. I mean, I gave her a refresher, so to speak. But all the stuff in the news at the time was all this woke stuff with Harvey Weinstein and all this stuff, and something the day we were shooting, something that came out in the news about Ben Affleck, who she was married to, about something he gave some interview on MTV or some shit, which irked her, you know. So I'm training her, and she's got her 226. She's shooting a 6. She's got 226 punched out, and she's shooting. And, you know, we train, you know, when you're done with your scan, all the targets been neutralized, finger off the trigger, and then come back to your high ready. But with a double action pistol, you have to actually decock the pistol so that it's not still in single action. So I'm like, hey, remember the difference between the pistols? I'm like, you have to decock the weapon before you bring it back. And she looked at me and she goes, I got a motherfucker I want to decock. I was like, touche. Like, we'll wait for that later.
Yeah. Needless to say,
funny.
they're not married anymore.
No.
Any longer.
No, I don't think they were married at the time. I think they were already split up by then. But obviously they have children together and stuff. But
yeah,
funny shit.
Oh, the inside, the tabloid.
Cock.
Yeah, that's funny. The tabloid information you have, boy. Okay, last. Sea, air, land. You picked air. You just kind of an air junkie kind of guy, or what?
Yeah, I had a lot of air quals. I think I found out early on, because I was a gunner's mate when I first came into the teams. You know, you and I both came in at a time where you had to have an A school or a source rating before you came to Buds. So if you shit the bed or quit, then you had something to fall back on when they shit canned you to the fleet. That's so right. So I was a gunner's mate. I went to gunner's mate A school in 93, and before I came to Buds, and automatically you show up to your first team, you know, and they're like, oh, gunner's mate. Okay. You're going to be working in the ordnance department. So my first platoon, I was a new guy, you know, secondary ordnance rep. You know, kind of learn the ropes from the department head, who's usually a 2, 3, 4 platoon guy who's kind of running the department. But I found out early on, I'm the new guy in charge of the fucking weapons. So every fucking trip, man, I was on weapons watch. I had to ride, you know, all the shit details, like everywhere. I had to ride shotgun with the weapon. And, you know, it's like, God, and there's really no trips we go on where we don't bring weapons. And so I was also a secondary air rep. And I was like, man, but I didn't have any quals for air. So I was like, well, shit, man. I'm like, got back, started my second platoon. I had talked to the chief and was like, hey, I want to get some air qual. So I went to static line jump master right away, and went to rigger school right away. And I, you know, just went from there, you know, wound up as an air ops trainer with, I got about 300 and something jumps. I'm not a sky god by any stretch of the imagination. I fall like a friggin' greased bowling ball, but yeah, I always loved jump days, you know, jump weeks, stuff like that. I loved the adrenaline rush of jumping. I actually blew my knee out on a static line jump up in Fort Lewis, Washington. We jumped out of a C-141 after we dropped our bundle. Our fucking bundle was like 3 clicks away, man. Like dudes landed in trees. It was overcast.
Yeah.
It was like, day. Man, what a fucking shit show this is. Like they're like, oh, I think he's good. The CO was out there. Like, I think he's good. Let's get him up, see if we can get his ruck on him. And I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure my knee is fucked. And they're like they're like trying to help me up. And that's the first time I looked down, and as I tried to stand up, my left knee like bent at the side. And I'm like, ow! I'm like, now. And finally, Master Chief Gay was out there for training cell, and he goes, yeah, no, fuck this. He like grabbed my ruck and like, you know, hucked it in the vehicle. It was like, dude, this guy needs to go to the fucking hospital. He's fucked up. Damn. So that was a good time. Yeah. Good time, bad day. You know, it's kind of all the same. eight knee surgeries later, my knee is perfect. Yeah. Just kidding. It's robotic now. Yeah. Yeah, don't you wish? Modern medicine at Balboa Hospital. That's Navy medicine, buddy. That's the best in the world. All right. Good stuff, man. That's a great warm-up.
Okay, now let's get started. You ready?
Oh shit!
Just kidding. All right, so
yeah, give me a second.
Yeah, there you go. Get a little. There he is. Yep, little Tito's.
No, just kidding.
Yep, that's
the lid was on.
Tito's, Austin, Texas. Good stuff right there. Okay, we've already learned a lot about you. We got a lot under our belt so far. 21 years, active duty SEAL. You retired as senior chief or chief?
Oh man, I was barely a chief.
Barely. That's right. Yeah. You had. Yeah, you never got knocked down, did you? Or no? I can't remember. Yeah, you did. That's right. Yeah. Knocked down. Yeah.
Well,
that's
actually,
right.
I take that back.
Little trouble.
I never did. Actually, my first time I went to mast.
Yeah.
I had just put on E5, and they gave me a suspended bust.
Ah, that's what it was.
And then I picked up chief pretty early. I picked up chief in like I want to say like 6 years in the Navy. I picked up E6, and then I was an E6 for like 11 and a half years or some shit.
That's right.
I picked up chief at 18 years, and I was like, Jesus Christ, man. Like who do I have to blow to make fucking chief? Because I did like 4 platoon LPOs. Dude, I was Sailor of the Year at SEAL Team 5, like all this shit. And like, they're like, nope, didn't make it. I remember when I came back to Team 5 from SQT, dude, I was like the only cat at my team for sure that had every single supervisory RSO letter designation. And they were like, the dudes that I worked for, like my senior chiefs and master chiefs in the task unit were like, hey, can you sign off my letter designation? I'm like, dude, what the fuck? I'm like, how am I an E6 more qualified than the master chiefs? And that was my biggest thing in the teams. Whereas, you would see cats that would pick up chief, not saying names. I mean, obviously they judge performance on several different levels, and, who knows what cookie cutter formula they're using year to year. But I remember times when dudes would pick up chief, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck? I put that dude through training at SQT, and the dude can't run a jump, can't run a dive, can't run a range. I'm like, how the fuck is he a fucking platoon chief? And they're like, well, he had a really good deployment. I was like, fuck, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's the politics, buddy. Then there's the politics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I punched out. That's what gave me my 21st year, because I wanted to get my high 3 for E7. So I was like, shit, I'll just stick it out for the extra whatever $200 I get a month for my retirement. What about you?
Yeah, well, I was the opposite of you. I made chief in like 9 years. I made chief in 9 years and then never went anywhere after that. But I also took like this very obscure route. It was we stood up all of the AFO, ASO stuff, and it was all very new at the time, and nobody knew what it was. And I enjoyed it because it was, singleton, like deploying by yourself kind of stuff. Yeah. And to me, that was so much fun that once I made chief, honestly, I didn't really care about making any other ranks after that. I just didn't care. And so I was in an obscure position for so long that, I think now they've got it all figured out, but at the time they didn't. So you look at my eval, and even though it said I was doing some cool stuff, they hadn't developed a review process for cool stuff. They only had the traditional reviews. Oh, he's a SEAL. Did he go to this? Did he go to that? Even though I, dive soup and, every single, same as you, right? You go through all the courses, but that didn't matter once I moved into that little more sensitive / clandestine world. So, but yeah, it was, I got there quick, and then that was it for the rest of the career.
I have no regrets. And I loved being a friggin' sled dog and knuckle dragging mouth breather. I lucked out being able to deploy as many times as I did. Going to Iraq like 5 times, and just, a lot of people. When I remember the first time I came back from deployment, one of my wife's cousins was like, "It's like, damn, it's like, I'm so sorry. Like, fuck, it sucks. You had to go to Iraq." And I was like, fuck, don't be sorry. I'm like, dude, that's what I've been training my whole life to do this shit. It's like, it's like one of the things that I would like imagine being training as a barber for years and years and years, and you're relegated to showing up every day at a barbershop, sitting in a fucking corner watching other people cut hair.
Right,
It's like,
right. Yeah. It is odd. I tell people all the time, it's the only career where the pinnacle of it is war, right?
Yeah.
Like you train, and all you're doing is hoping to go use the training in a real world event. And then when it comes, you're like, holy shit, then it's like game on. All you want is more and more and more.
Yeah.
There's not too many careers like that. Not even law enforcement. Law enforcement, they may, under their breath, SWAT team guys say to me and you, man, I hope I get to, smoke somebody. But that's not their job. Their job is to enforce the law, whereas we can get away with saying, I hope we get to smoke somebody. Yeah. We can say it all the time because that's all you're supposed to do, not learn languages.
Agreed. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. And I do remember the stark contrast, first pump down range. And actually our team relieved you guys. I remember seeing you at Ali Asalim.
Oh, that's
the
right.
Air base in Kuwait when I think you were platoon LPO.
Yeah.
And, there's a couple Team 3 cats that were staying back to jump in our platoon. And, of course, I'm canvassing all the LPOs and chiefs like, hey, how's this guy? And, that's like the worst, the funniest thing you can say, a team guy to team guy. You're like, hey, how's this guy? He's like, oh, he's a good dude. You're like, no, motherfucker. Like,
yeah, really?
How is he? They're like, he's good. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, would you want to do another platoon with him? Like, oh, no, fuck no. That guy's a fucking cancer. You're like,
that's so funny.
Yeah.
But we all hate each other and we all love each other. It's kind of how it is.
Oh, absolutely. And everybody's got their own, everybody's got their own niche and stuff like that in the teams. But
that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, we came back and we were all disgruntled. But it depended on which part of that initial push, The beginning and then the end was really good. The middle was the part where I forgot who it was that was like they didn't have task unit commanders at that point yet. All the verbiage changed and evolved as the war went on. But whatever the equivalent was, we had a total safety, security conscious kind of guy running the show and just irritated the crap out of us because he just kept saying no, no, no. But then once you got moved under the right, ground commanders, then you're like, oh, now we're doing cool stuff. Now we're doing cool stuff. And then you get stuck with someone. And we were moving ahead of the war. A lot of times our platoon was ahead of that Marine line. But probably one of the most memorable moments, and that now you reflect on, it's kind of cool, is we were in Nasiriyah. It was the Jessica Lynch rescue and all that crap. Yeah. And the guy running that whole area at the time was Colonel Kelly, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when we show up, he comes out, and he was the first time where General Kelly was put a star on in a combat environment since I think like Vietnam, right?
Oh shit.
And so, we were kind of in the area for all that when he went from colonel to general. And then of course, he, was on Trump's staff. You fast forward so many years later. And, pretty amazing. Just the amount of people and experiences that whole time period we were in, we got to touch, right? It's just so cool. Yeah. It's almost surreal. Yeah.
No, it's absolutely crazy too, seeing Iraq 2003 to Iraq 2013. It's like 10 years and you're like, man,
it's fucking Starbucks.
We fucked this place up. And going back to what I was saying earlier too, the whole being the barber analogy, I that was one of the first times too I saw a stark contrast in the way that other agencies or other units were trained. Because, we're hauling ass down the middle of Route Irish on the wrong side of the fucking roads and driving on medians and slamming cars out of the way and being risk adverse. Because I'm like, dude, we're not stopping for fucking traffic and making ourselves targets. We were legitimately
always moving,
driving like friggin' Mad Max, and, we would cruise through the middle of downtown Baghdad and you'd see, these random ass checkpoints set up with these thin skin Humvees, and you have some National Guard dude like sitting up in the gun turret eating a damn piece of freaking cracker and cheese, getting blasted through the head. You're like, dude, Like,
Yeah.
don't make yourself as much of a target, you know. And I kind of felt bad. You know, I had some cats from the unit that back home. I grew up in Tennessee. There was some guys that deployed in the National Guard unit, and I'm like, God damn, man! Like, you guys are really sticking out. I mean, obviously, we get, you know, the deal. We get a shit ton of funding and a shit ton of training, and you know, to strictly do that. And, you know, you have some cat who maybe came in to get some college money, and now dudes had limited training, went to boot camp, and then it's 2 weekends, 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year for the next 4 years trying to earn his college money, get sent down range and like get shot through the fucking face eating a goddamn MRE cracker. You know, it's like, dude.
Yeah. It is really too bad. I remember, stark difference in our own training, you know, rolling in 2003 with these, you know, Humvees made of plastic. They weren't armored up, and we had more shit on there than we knew what to do with. We had literally tents that we bought at some local camping store in Kuwait.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, this will be our shelter, you know, while we head on in, and, you know, had
fucking windstorms and shit.
Yeah.
Like, brown out. You're like, great.
Yeah, it was.
Should have bought some goggles.
And then you fast forward a couple of years, and it's like, holy shit, light and day. You know, we finally got on step.
Golden Connex box opened.
Oh yeah, the money started pouring in. Damn, man, I think we could go on for another hour, but we got to get into your game. We got to see if you're going to survive this thing. You ready?
Uh-oh.
You ready for this?
Okay.
I don't know. I'm
I
not
hope
even
so.
ready for this. I got to go through it with you. Okay.
All right.
That means I got to put my little thinking cap on here. All right, here we go. For this scenario, you will be out on a 30-foot boat, okay? Out at sea fishing with a good friend. We're just going to call your good friend Bob for right now. Bob is near the end of his life, though. And for one of his last wishes, he asked you to take him fishing. Just you and him on the ocean alone. Bob is in his 60s, but he has some terminal illness. Not sure which one, okay? As you prepare for your adventure with Bob, do you, A, pack some extra snacks for you and Bob, and then go pick him up, or B, check the weather forecast for the area that you're going to be fishing?
I can't do both. Jesus. More than likely, I'm going to check the weather. Because usually when I go fishing, I like to have a liquid diet, so probably not going to be eating too much shit anyway. So I'll say I'm going to check the weather.
Yes, I would agree with you. Checking the weather first and preparing accordingly, like a good sailor, by the way. I know we're not very good sailors, us SEALs, but some people think we are. Snacks are a good idea, right? Oh, yeah, and the Boy Scout.
Be prepared. I was an Eagle Scout, too.
And an Eagle Scout. After you check the weather, and, of course, checking all other, pertinent information, rough waters, can you check sharks now? Can you do shark reports?
Yeah.
Road closures and delays, hazards en route. Okay, you check everything, right? You check the weather and it looks clear for the day. So, next, do you A, grab those damn snacks, because Kevin likes snacks, and hit the road, or B, go ahead and do a quick dummy check of, all the things you might need?
I think I'm going to probably do a dummy check.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, like I said, I don't know. When I go fish, I'm traditionally not looking to have a 4-course meal out on the water. But I'm more an ounce of prevention's worth a pound. What is it? An ounce of prevention's worth a pound of
flesh. Sure. Flesh.
What is it? I don't know. Whatever it is. But yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you hit it nail on the head. You got to be prepared, and doing a dummy check will kind of make sure that you don't end up being the dummy once you're out at sea, right?
Exactly.
So you're checking your maps, nautical charts. You're making sure you know where you're going. First aid kit, GPS check, flotation, all the things that are required by the Coast Guard. Maybe even a harpoon or two. Why not, right? You never know what you might run into.
Shamu.
So you do your dummy check and you proceed to pick up Bob. You and Bob arrive at the dock where you'll be renting your 30-foot boat with outboard motors. Do you A, ask the person at the boat rental if they have any tips about the waters or nautical charts in the area, anything like that, or just B, load up supplies and go for it?
No, I'm gonna probably pick the dude's brain, especially if the motor is good to go. What's the deal with this thing? Is this boat a total shit box? Because it's obviously a rental, so it's like a rental car. That's the only car you can drive 100 miles an hour in reverse and throw it into drive, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I'm more apt to get some pointers from the guy I'm renting the boat from.
Yeah, I'm with you. Always talk to the locals. They know what's going on. Any extra info you can get about the waters will obviously be helpful. Any of the charts, weather, wildlife patterns
Good
that you need
fishing
to know
spots.
about. Good fishing spots is key.
Yeah.
The kid renting the boat to you mentions that there's been some shark sightings in the area recently. The kid helps you load up your supplies, and you and Bob get in. You're almost on your way. Bob wants to drive the boat, though. Okay, it's another wish he's got here at the end of his life. So, do you A, do a last check on all systems, or just let Bob take you out to sea?
I'm checking everything before I pitch off that dock, especially me and Bob. I mean, he's my boy, but yeah. I'm checking and rechecking everything. That's just the type of person I am.
Yeah, I think the career does that. So yeah, you check all systems and make sure everything's working. You got all the gas you're gonna need. You're checking comms. You're checking everything. You're making sure your boaters run, they lower, they raise, or they do, everything's functioning properly. And the kid says it's been doing things just fine. Everything seems to be good to go. Leaving it down, the motor's in the water the whole time isn't a big deal. They also don't have any other boats available for rental. So you're kind of stuck with the motors in the down position. So you might be able to trim them a little bit, but you're certainly not getting them out of the water. The minutes in the day are ticking. So now you gotta take Bob out to sea. So you head out with Bob at the helm. Oh God. You've been heading out to sea for about an hour and are well away from the shore. And you and I both know you get to about what, seven nautical miles out, you can't see land anymore, depending on how tall you are in the boat. But between 7 and 14 miles.
Yeah.
Can't see crap. You can see some storm clouds in the distance. Okay, so there goes the weatherman. So do you A, head out a little further, because why not, and really show Bob some action, or B, stay in the area that you're at and cast lines and let's get the fishing going?
Yeah, I'm more apt to stay where I'm at, or even maybe come in a little bit closer once I start seeing storm clouds, because obviously it's hard to adjust and detect how fast clouds and shit are moving upon you, That's right. And the last thing you want is a damn cloud on top of you, especially it starts lightning and shit, and you're fucked.
Yeah, that's no fun.
It ain't like you're going anywhere.
No, and it slows down your exit strategy, because when the sea state starts to go, so does your speed. There's probably no need to go any further out to sea, so roger that. Good answer. Especially with the storm clouds in the distance. So you and Bob cast your lines and get the fishing going. Then you see what looks like to be about a 15-foot shark nearby. Okay, that's not small. The shark rams your boat. okay? Straight out of Jaws, and almost knocks you guys in. Do you A, fire up the motors and flee ASAP, or B, pull up your lines, leave slowly, and as you do, chum the water behind you?
Yeah. No, I think if my boat's getting rammed, I'm getting the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah.
I don't know about chumming the waters.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I've caught some fish, I might toss one in. Maybe it'll distract the shark to let us get out of there. A little diversion tactic, but yeah, I'm probably getting the fuck out of there, especially if it almost knocked me in the water.
Yeah. So you're kind of a hybrid between A and B, but you're still pulling lines and doing all the right stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's probably no need to go any further out. You're pulling lines, and with the boat of that size and the motor, yeah, you should be safe from the shark. But pulling up your lines and going slow could be safer if the shark is very large and attacking you for some reason. Chumming the water behind you, could hopefully keep him from following you, right? You're just kind of dumping all your stuff out, distract him long enough so that you can go and keep him away from you and the old man you got in the boat. All right.
I think if worst comes to worst, you could probably just toss Bob in the water. I mean, he's going to fucking die anyway. So
there you go. You might be going somewhere with this. All right.
Like the old adage, the combat swimmer, you stab your buddy.
Stab your buddy and
cut your buddy line.
Always be faster than your buddy. That's right. So as you pull the lines, the shark hits the boat again. Bob falls in the water. I think you read this scenario ahead of time.
Oh shit.
Okay, so do you A, instruct Bob to get to the bow, or instruct Bob to get to the stern? Most people don't even know which one of those are.
Yeah.
Why don't you enlighten us, sailor?
I'm going to say get to the stern. I think it's going to be a little easier to pull him in from the stern versus the bow. It's definitely the bow is going to be more out of the water than the stern. I think it's going to be easier to pull him in.
Yeah, with a boat that size, 30 feet. Yeah, that has a motor, and you should be. Yeah, you're right. You want to instruct Bob to go to the stern as quickly as possible, buddy, but as calmly as possible. To the stern.
Get those legs a kicking, Bob.
And that is, for all of you non-nautical minds out there, that is the back of the boat. Okay, the back of the boat, and that's and so when someone falls in, you usually either go to the back, and usually sometimes there's a ladder or Jacob's ladder, something that's always on the aft side anyway, or aft end.
Yeah.
So Bob makes his way to the stern. As you help pull him in the boat, he pulls you over to the edge, and now you fall in the water. Okay. Now Bob's in the water, and you're in the water, and there's blood all around you. From the boat, Bob says, "I think I cut my foot on the prop." And yep, Bob's blood is all around you. And you see the shark coming towards you. Well, you at least see a very large dorsal fin, okay? And it's not a dolphin. Do you, A, punch through the water as hard as you can towards the shark's nose, or B, gouge the eyes and gills of the predator?
Ooh.
Which one is it? The one you hear about, or the one you don't hear
I go
about?
for the eyes and the gills.
Yeah. That's what I would do too. Let's see what the answer says here. Yes, B, gouge out the eyes. I think the big key here is you always hear about punching, but you and I both know you try to punch in the water, it's like slow motion.
Yeah.
The impact on the nose isn't really going to be as great as you think.
Like a pillow fight.
Yeah. And of course, if you see those eyes, go for the eyes, go for the gills, create pain. Some kind of destruction on that thing. It's still a pretty one-sided fight. Yeah, it's a bad situation.
But they do say dolphins will actually attack sharks and nose them in the gills.
Right.
If they're trying to.
That's right. Yeah. A couple of dolphins will kill a great white. Because the speed, they get so fast. Yeah, good answer. All right. you know, a lot of people think, yeah, it's punching in the nose, but I think creating pain with the eyes and the gills is a good way to go. You got to basically become a savage and inflict pain, and you know, be more ruthless than the shark you face. Good luck.
Yeah.
So you rip at its eyes and gills, and it gives you enough time to pull yourself, you know, basically over the stern into the boat. It's also beginning to rain and get dark out. Okay, so things just got really bad. Nice. So do you A, full throttle and get the fuck out of there, or B, bandage up Bob's lacerated foot?
I would get the fuck out of there, and I would instruct Bob to put direct pressure on his own foot, self-aid, buddy aid, corpsman aid. So he's gonna self-aid his own dumb ass.
That's right.
While I get on the throttle and get the fuck out of Dodge.
I like it. Yes. Yeah. Go full throttle. Don't be dicking around. And yeah, Bob, you're a grown man. Take care of yourself, buddy. Good job. Yeah, you got to get out of there. Always defer to what will kill you first, right? You have a storm rolling in and a shark attacking your boat. You got to get away from the shark first and also get away from the storm. So you full throttle it back towards shore. The shark doesn't chase you. Not that you would know if it was chasing you. You seem to be outpacing the storm, so that's good. You throw a bandage on Bob's foot. As you finally approach the arena, A, get the boat docked ASAP and get Bob to the hospital, or B, manage your wake and approach the dock slowly for other people's safety.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to come in friggin' like a banshee. I think the only way that scenario would necessitate, you know, would make me want to fucking haul ass like that is if he was just like literally bleeding out or something, you know, like, hey, and I would need to be on the phone like with 911, like paramedics waiting. You know, me slamming in the dock, crashing the boat, and potentially putting my dumb ass in the water isn't going to help anything. So, yeah, I'm going to proceed slow and cautiously, dock the boat, and then get Bob fixed up.
Good answer.
No more casualties.
Yeah, I think you. It's kind of a trick question because if you gun it in there, you could potentially create more injuries and all kinds of other problems for yourself other than the shark and the storm. And yeah, Bob's injured, but it's just a cut at the end of the day. And yeah, it might look scary, but he's probably not going to bleed out. But and believe it or not, this scenario happens to be based on a true story.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So good job. Except the difference is they actually crashed into the dock. They came in screaming, "We got injured people," and then crashed into the dock. It was awesome.
Nice.
Great story. But good job, Kevin. You have survived this podcast. And awesome catching up with you, talking to you. But I've got one last thing for you, all right? This one's going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Turns out Bob is gay.
No. Well, he may be. I don't know. He really likes you, though. He really likes you. Okay. Who is the most famous person in your phone right now?
Famous person in my phone.
In your phone. Man. Yeah. Who's the most famous person?
I don't know. I guess there's various. Stories. I think there's various degrees of famousness.
Who's the most widely known guy you got in there?
I don't know. I got John Krasinski. I got Michael Bay.
Can you FaceTime one of them for me?
Oh shit, dude. I don't know.
Let's get John. Go ahead. Let's FaceTime him. Just tell him you're on a podcast and you've been put on the spot.
let me text him first.
Let's do this. This is gonna be awesome. We have a scenario for him.
I actually have Joe Rogan's number too.
Whichever one.
Like, hey, I'm on a podcast. No, he would be like,
get the fuck out of here. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let me see.
Yeah. Let's do this.
This is interesting.
Yeah, it could be fun. Right.
It got delivered. Let me see if he'll FaceTime me. Probably won't, but
this might be asking a little too much, right? He's a busy guy. At least we gave it a shot.
I'll give him a couple seconds, and then I'm just gonna FaceTime him.
Okay.
See what happens.
Yeah. Tell him it's an emergency. It's an emergency.
Dude, the cops are after me. I'm coming to your house. Like, what?
Well, no, you need to pick an A-lister that's bigger than him and say, hey, he wants to talk to you.
Right?
I'm with, let's see, who would it be though? Yeah, I don't know. I'm with Arnold and he wants to say hi.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of somebody that would actually answer a FaceTime call. Yeah. I mean, it is Thursday in the middle of the day, so I mean, he's probably directing something right now, more than likely.
Yeah,
which is kind of funny.
Well, that's all right. If you can't pull it off, I was just checking.
I know.
Nope.
Here we go. Let's see what happens.
FaceTime. And which one are you FaceTime right now, John? Let's see. Oh yeah, I can see. Yep. No, any answer yet?
Doesn't look good.
All right. Well, we gave it a shot. Awesome, man.
I'll wait till it hangs up.
Yeah, literally wear it out. He's not hitting the fuck you button on you, so that's a good sign.
No. FaceTime unavailable.
All right. Well, we gave it a try, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, it was awesome catching up with you, Kevin. I appreciate you taking the time out. I had a whole lot of fun with you.
Absolutely. It's been awesome. This is great.
It's really been great watching you on social and everything and all the good stuff you're doing. You've really done a good job transitioning to a whole new identity out there. And that's a hard thing for some team guys to do. So good on you, man. Good stuff. And thank you for your service. Thank you for your time. And I wish you the best of luck with everything else you got going on.
Absolutely. Thanks to you as well. I love what you're doing. You're doing great shit, man. And, I definitely like the positive message, the not the spin, but the podcast itself and what you're doing is great because it's kind of the same deal every time. So, and me and Harry Humphreys, we talked about potentially doing a podcast together and coming up with a format to where it would be something like, 20 questions, almost like the, who was it? Was it Letterman that would ask the same questions over and over to somebody? Or whatever.
Yeah. He definitely had a format of questions that he asked everybody.
I dig that. I dig the scenario and, good stuff, man. I love it.
Well,
so anything I can do to help support you, let me know. Awesome. Well, stay tuned for Obliterated Season 1, which is the Netflix show I just worked on. Actually, I'm going out next week to do reshoots in Albuquerque. But yeah, it's going to be a funny friggin' show. So shameless plug there for myself.
All right. We'll be looking for you, Kevin. I'll be looking for you.
Good stuff.
All right. Thank you very much. And if anybody wants to contact you and learn more about you, do you have a website or anything?
Yeah, it's actually therealkevinkent.com or k-squared.cc is my website for my company's K Squared Incorporated. I got a shit ton of stickers. Of course, I don't have any on me right now, but actually, hold on.
Nice. I like that, man.
TheRealKevinKent.com. There's my logo.
K Squared.
Put it on all my stuff.
Yeah. So, all right.
Yeah. Good
there
stuff.
You have it. TheRealKevinKent.com or K Squared and or just Google.
Yeah.
Or just Google.
Exactly.
There we go. You'll find everything you want.
Military Technical Advisor. It'll probably come to my website.
All right. Well, hey, thank you again, buddy.
Absolutely.
We'll be talking to you soon. All right. Thank you.